Steinberg Cubase 12 Pro. We start lesson 18. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, so as not to miss new videos. And we start lesson 18. Click patterns. Click patterns allow you to set up a custom metronome click. By default, the metronome click in Cubase has a 4/4 pattern with a fixed number of 4 clicks. The click level of the first click is high, while the level of the other beats is low. The default metronome click pattern with 4 clicks at a 4/4 time signature. A metronome click pattern with 3 clicks at a 3/4 time signature. By setting up click patterns for the metronome at the current time signature, you can create a custom metronome click. You can determine the number of clicks and the level of the clicks to your liking. If you have different project parts with different time signatures or tempos and you want to set up different click patterns to match the rhythm and feel of these parts, you can set up a metronome click pattern for each signature event in your project. You can also add the same time signature for different sections and set up different patterns for them. Note: if you want to visualize the current click pattern in the project window, key editor, or drum editor event display, activate Use Metronome Click Pattern Level for grid line emphasis in the corresponding ruler context menu. This is useful if snap is activated and the snap type is set to grid. Grid lines are only emphasized if they are shown. If you want to visualize a click pattern that is set to 6 clicks and a 4/4 time signature, you must set the grid type to a triplet value. The Click Patterns tab in the Metronome Setup dialog allows you to manage factory and user click patterns. You can remove and rename them, create new click patterns, and change the default click pattern for a specific time signature. Related links. Click Patterns tab. Click Pattern Editor. Setting up a metronome click pattern. Setting up metronome click patterns for signature events. Project window toolbar. Metronome click. Click Pattern Editor. Click Pattern Editor. The Click Pattern Editor allows you to set up a click pattern for your project to create new grooves and feels for the metronome click. This is useful if you want to create a triplet pattern for a 4/4 signature, for example. The Click Pattern Editor is available in the transport bar. If you add a signature track, it is available in the inspector and on the info line. To open the Click Pattern Editor in the transport bar, click the points to the right of the Click and Count In and Click Pattern section, and drag all the way to the right. Click the Pattern field to open the Click Pattern Editor. Clicks allows you to define the number of clicks that are used in the pattern. Pattern allows you to select a factory pattern or to save your own user patterns. Which patterns are available in this menu depends on the current time signature and on the settings in the Metronome Setup dialog on the Click Patterns tab. Note: to view, edit, and rename the pattern presets, open the Click Patterns tab in the Metronome Setup dialog. Event Display shows the defined number of beats for the selected pattern. You can change the accent level for a beat by changing its vertical position in the event display. There are 4 different settings. These correspond to the settings in the Metronome Setup dialog on the Click Sounds tab. You can mute a beat by clicking the lowest vertical position. Related links. Transport bar sections. Signature track. Click patterns. Setting up a metronome click pattern. Setting up a metronome click pattern. You can set up a different metronome click pattern for your project. Procedure. In the transport bar, click the points to the right of the Click and Count In and Click Pattern section, and drag all the way to the right to show the Click Pattern section. Click the Pattern field to open the Click Pattern Editor. Do one of the following. Select one of the patterns that are available for the current time signature in the Pattern pop-up menu. Set up a new user pattern by changing the number of clicks in the Clicks Value field. You can also change the accent level for a beat by changing its vertical position in the event display. When you are done, click outside the Click Pattern Editor to close it. Activate the metronome click. Result: the metronome click is played back with the defined click pattern. Related links. Click Pattern Editor. Transport bar sections. Click Patterns tab. Saving user patterns. Click Pattern Editor. Setting up metronome click patterns for signature events. Setting up metronome click patterns for signature events. You can set up a metronome click pattern for each signature event in your project. This is useful if you have different project parts with different time signatures and you want to customize click patterns to the rhythm and feel of these parts. You can also add the same time signature for different sections and set up different patterns for them. Procedure. Double-click the plus sign to open the Click Pattern Editor. Do one of the following. Select one of the patterns that are available for the current time signature in the Pattern pop-up menu. Set up a new user pattern by changing the number of clicks in the Clicks Value field. You can also change the accent level for a beat by changing its vertical position in the event display. When you are done, click outside the Click Pattern Editor to close it. Repeat this for each signature event for which you want to set up a click pattern. Result: if you play back the project and activate the metronome click, the different project parts use the defined click patterns. The Click Pattern Editor in the transport bar shows the pattern at the project cursor position. Related links. Click Pattern Editor. Signature track. Time signature events. Setting up a metronome click pattern. Saving user patterns. Saving user patterns. You can set up and save your own user pattern for the metronome click. This is useful if you want to use your click pattern in other projects as well. Prerequisite. The time signature for which you want to set up a user pattern is selected in the tempo and time signature section of the transport bar. Procedure. In the transport bar, click the points to the right of the click and count in and click pattern section, and drag all the way to the right to show the click pattern section. Click the pattern field to open the click pattern editor. Use the click setting to define the number of clicks that you want to hear. Change the accent level for a beat by changing its vertical position in the event display. As soon as you make changes to the default pattern, the pattern name in the pattern field changes to user pattern. When you are done, click in the pattern field, and select Store Pattern from the pop-up menu. The pattern name changes to Untitled, and a message informs you that a new pattern is created for the selected time signature. Result. Your user pattern is saved. After completing this task, rename the untitled user pattern in the Metronome Setup dialog, click Patterns tab. Related links. Click Patterns tab. Renaming click patterns. Setting up metronome click patterns for signature events. Renaming click patterns. Renaming click patterns. By default, newly created user patterns are called untitled, but you can rename them in the Metronome Setup dialog. Procedure. Select Transport Metronome Setup. Click Click Patterns to open the Click Patterns tab. Navigate to the time signature for which you have added a new, untitled user pattern, and double-click its name. Enter a name for the click pattern, and press Enter to confirm. Related links. Click Patterns tab. Saving user patterns. Metronome Setup dialog. Metronome Setup dialog. The Metronome Setup dialog allows you to make settings for the metronome. To open the Metronome Setup dialog, do one of the following. Select Transport Metronome Setup. In the transport bar, open the Click and Count in and Click Pattern section, and click Open Metronome Setup. Related links. General tab. Click Sounds tab. Click Patterns tab. Transport bar sections. Renaming click patterns. General tab. General tab. The General tab allows you to make basic metronome settings. In the topmost section, the following options are available. Activate metronome click. Activate/deactivates the metronome click. In the click destination section, the following options are available. Use MIDI click. Activates a MIDI click for the metronome. Use audio click. Activates an audio click for the metronome that is output via the audio hardware. Audio click outputs. If you use multiple output buses, this allows you to activate the output bus where you want to route the metronome click. In the click options section, the following options are available. Click while recording. Activates the metronome click during recording. Click while playing. Activates the metronome click during playback. Click during count-in. Activates a musical count-in that is played when you start recording from stop mode. In the count-in section, the following options are available. Number of bars in count-in. Allows you to set the number of bars that the metronome counts in before recording starts. Time signature at record start position. Activate this to let the count-in automatically use the time signature and tempo set at the position where recording starts. Time signature at project position. Activate this to let the count-in use the time signature at the project position. Use custom time signature. Allows you to set a time signature for the count-in. In this mode, signature changes in the project do not affect the count-in. Metronome Setup dialog. Click Sounds tab. Click Sounds tab. The Click Sounds tab allows you to set up and audition the MIDI click and the audio click. You can use the default audio or MIDI click, choose from a list of factory preset sounds, or assign your own custom sounds. The MIDI click settings section allows you to set up the MIDI click that sounds if you activate Use MIDI click in the Click Destination section on the General tab. MIDI output port. Allows you to select a MIDI output port for the MIDI click. You can also select a VST instrument previously set up in the VST Instruments window. MIDI output channel. Allows you to select a MIDI output channel for the MIDI click. Note. Allows you to set the MIDI note number, that is, the pitch from C2 to G8. Set the note number for the first beat in a bar in the top row, and the note numbers for the other beats in the rows below. Velocity. Allows you to set the velocity of the MIDI click sound. Set the velocity for the first beat in a bar in the top row and the velocities for the other beats in the rows below. The audio click settings section allows you to set up the audio click that sounds if you activate Use audio click in the Click Destination section on the General tab. Use Steinberg click sound. Activates the default sounds for the metronome click. Pitch. Allows you to set the pitch for the default sounds. Set the pitch for the first beat in a bar in the top row and the pitches for the other beats in the rows below. Level. Allows you to set the level for the default sounds. Set the level for the first beat in a bar in the top row and the levels for the other beats in the rows below. Use custom sounds. Activates custom sounds for the metronome click. For this to work, you must select an audio file for the custom sounds by clicking in the sound column. Sound. Allows you to select an audio file for the custom sounds. Select an audio file for the first beat in a bar in the top row and the audio files for the other beats in the rows below. Level. Allows you to set the level for the custom sounds. Set the level for the first beat in a bar in the top row and the levels for the other beats in the rows below. Audio click level. Allows you to adjust the level of the audio click. Click Sound Presets. Allows you to load one of the click sound presets that supports up to 4 accents. Amongst other click sounds that are suited for a broad range of applications, you can also select Steinberg click sound, the default click sound of Cubase. You can also create your own presets and save them. Audition click sounds. Click Start to audition the activated click sounds. General tab. Setting up a custom audio click sound. Setting up a custom audio click sound. If you do not want to use the default click sound, you can set up your own custom sound. Prerequisite. In the metronome setup dialog on the General tab, Activate Metronome click is activated. In the Click Destinations section, Use Audio click is activated. Procedure. Open the Click Sounds tab, and in the Audio click settings section, activate Use Custom Sounds. In the Sound column, click the top row. In the File dialog, navigate to the audio file that you want to use as a custom sound for the first beat and select it. Click Open. Click the other rows to select audio files for the other beats. Set the level of the sounds by clicking the respective rows in the level column and adjusting the value. Optional, click Start to audition the custom sounds. Result. The metronome uses the defined custom sounds for the audio click. After completing this task, open the Click Sound Presets pop-up menu, and save your custom sounds as a preset. Click Sounds tab. Click Patterns tab. Click Patterns tab. The Click Patterns tab allows you to manage click patterns. Click patterns allow you to edit the default metronome click. The following options are available. Add new signature. Click and enter a time signature value to add a new time signature. Available time signatures. Shows the available time signatures. Available patterns. Shows the available click patterns. Add new pattern. Double-click to add a new click pattern for the time signature. Clicks. Allows you to change the number of clicks used in the click pattern. Click pattern. Shows the click pattern. You can open the click pattern editor by clicking the pattern. Remove click pattern. Removes the click pattern from the list of available patterns. Add new pattern. Adds a new default click pattern for the time signature. Default pattern for time signature. Cubase comes with several factory click patterns for every time signature. And for every time signature, one click pattern is defined as default click pattern that is used for every new project in that specific time signature. Note. You can set another click pattern as the default pattern for a time signature by clicking to the left of the number field of this pattern. An asterisk indicates that this pattern is the new default pattern. Note. If you scroll all the way down, you can reset all click patterns to the factory settings by clicking Reset to Factory Patterns. You can double-click the name of a pattern to rename it. Related links. Saving user patterns. Renaming click patterns. Setting up a custom audio click sound. Creating a click track. Creating a click track. You can create an audio or a MIDI track that contains the click. Procedure. Do one of the following. Select Project Signature Track Render Audio Click between locators. Select Project Signature Track Render MIDI Click between locators. Result. An audio track containing an audio event with the click is added to your project. The level corresponds to the audio click level setting on the Click Sounds tab of the Metronome Setup dialog. A MIDI track containing a MIDI part with the click is added to your project. The output of the MIDI track is routed to the MIDI output port that you set up on the Click Sounds tab of the Metronome Setup dialog. Click Patterns tab. Chase. Chase. Chase is a function that makes sure your MIDI instruments sound as they should when you locate to a new position and start playback. This is accomplished by the program transmitting a number of MIDI messages to your instruments each time that you move to a new position in the project, making sure all MIDI devices are set up correctly with regard to program change, controller messages, such as MIDI volume, etc. Example. You have a MIDI track with a program change event inserted at the beginning. This event makes a synth switch to a piano sound. At the beginning of the first chorus, you have another program change event, which makes the same synth switch to a string sound. You now play back the song. It begins with the piano sound and then switches to the string sound. In the middle of the chorus, you stop and rewind to some point between the beginning and the second program change. The synth now still plays the string sound, although, in this section, it should really be a piano. The chase function takes care of that. If program change events are set to be chased, Cubase tracks the music back to the beginning, finds the first program change, and transmits it to your synth, setting it to the correct sound. The same can apply to other event types as well. In the Preferences dialog, MIDI page, the chase event settings determine which event types are chased when you locate to a new position and start playback. Related links. Chase events. Creating a click track. On-screen keyboard. On-screen keyboard. The on-screen keyboard allows you to play and record MIDI notes by using your computer keyboard or mouse. This is useful if you have no external MIDI instrument at hand and you do not want to draw in notes with the draw tool. When the on-screen keyboard is displayed, the usual key commands are blocked because they are reserved for the on-screen keyboard. The only exceptions are Save, Control/CMDS. Start/stop record, number asterisk. Start/stop playback, space. Jump to left locator, number 1. Delete or backspace. Cycle on, off, number slash. Show, hide transport panel, F2. Show, hide on-screen keyboard, Alt/Opt-K. Chase. Recording MIDI with the on-screen keyboard. Recording MIDI with the on-screen keyboard. You can use the on-screen keyboard to record MIDI in Cubase. Prerequisite. You have selected a MIDI or instrument track and activated Record Enable. Procedure. Select Studio on-screen keyboard. On the transport panel, activate Record. Perform one of the following actions to enter notes. Click on the keys of the on-screen keyboard. Press the corresponding key on your computer keyboard. Note. Press several keys simultaneously to enter polyphonic parts. The maximum number of notes that can be played at one time varies between the different operating systems and hardware configurations. After completing this task, close the on-screen keyboard to make all key commands available again. On-screen keyboard. On-screen keyboard options. On-screen keyboard options. The on-screen keyboard offers different display modes as well as other options. To open the on-screen keyboard, select Studio on-screen keyboard. Note velocity level. This slider allows you to adjust the volume of the on-screen keyboard. You can also use up arrow or down arrow for this. Change on-screen keyboard type. This button allows you to switch between computer keyboard and piano keyboard display mode. In computer keyboard mode, you can use the 2 rows of keys that are displayed on the on-screen keyboard to enter notes. The piano keyboard has a wider range of keys. It allows you to enter more than one voice simultaneously. You can also use tab for this. Octave offset. These buttons allow you to switch the keyboard range to a lower or higher octave. You have 7 full octaves at your disposal. You can also use left arrow or right arrow for this. Pitch bend/modulation sliders. These sliders are only available in piano keyboard mode. The left slider displays pitch bend, the right slider shows modulation changes. To introduce modulation, click on a key and drag upwards or downwards. To introduce pitch bend, drag left or right. Recording MIDI with the on-screen keyboard. Recording.